What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Back working on Zach's R33 again today, or his R25 for his R33. So I actually already recorded this clip, but I noticed that I'd forgotten to change my FPS settings because I've noticed with the fluoros in the engine room, as I'm sure you have all noticed, that it starts doing really weird stuff with the lights in here on my videos. My good friend Mr. Sabiji from France, he's actually given me some pointers on how to sort that out, which as you can see from this footage works out pretty well. So previously I changed to start filming in NTSC because my iPhone 11 actually only films in NTSC, so I changed on my other camera gear to do that, and so that means 30 and 60 FPS, which apparently is the wrong frequency for fluoro lights. So big thank you for Mr. Sabiji for pointing that out to me, because I'm no camera wizard and I would not have known. So I've changed back to PAL and back to 25 FPS, and hopefully that's sorted out how those lights sort of look in the videos, and I'll start sort of editing like that now because I don't use my iPhone that much anymore anyway. And when I do, I'll try and keep it so that if I film a video, I'll film it all on one bit of camera gear. But anyway, we're back here working on Zach's 33 on his RB25. We've got his flywheel back from the machine shop. It is looking unreal. Really good, really nice. Stoked with that. I've got his new clutch in my car, plus everything else that he needed from Repco, a few gaskets, things like that. Outstanding stuff that he needed to get. We have also got his head back from the machine shop. So big thank you to Pico there at East Coast Engine Centre in Nambour for sorting out this head for us. So it's actually that bit of JB weld that I chucked in the head, which was just sort of as a precaution. I figured it was going to be better than nothing. Pico actually pulled that out of the head and welded up the head properly before he surfaced it, so that's awesome. So that's actually been welded up properly now, which is a lot nicer. So that's epic. He also chucked in a helicoil on that stud that we couldn't get out. I was looking at just buying a kit because our kit for M10x125 doesn't have a tap. The tap's broken, so that's why I was going to buy a new helicoil kit. But seeing as the head was already at the machine shop, they've already got all the gear, and it was honestly that cheap for him to chuck it in there. So stoked with that. Thank you heaps to Pico for doing that. So that head's ready to go. The only thing I'm a bit worried about at the moment is these two exhaust valves on this part of the head where it's been welded up, simply because I'm just a bit worried that the heat that would have been put through the head whilst this welding was going on may have potentially distorted these seats just a little bit. And the problem is, because I've already lapped those valves, it's very hard for me to see just from a lap to see whether they're actually going to seal properly or not. So I'm in two minds about whether to regrind those seats or not. I'm going to have a think about it over breakfast and sort of decide when I come back up. But apart from that, Zach's on his way out, and aside from getting the block out of his car, hopefully that's all come up in mint. He's painted that while he was at home yesterday, so hopefully he's very happy with that, and it's all nice and clean and good. And we'll just check the bores, make sure they don't need another quick little home. And then we've got to start the assembly process, which is awesome. A lot for Zach to learn here. A lot more information, so we're going to have to start doing bearing clearances, get this bottom end together. If we have time today, we'll get to this head. Yeah, decide what I'm doing with those valve seats, and then yeah, get this head, try and get it assembled again, and yeah, just pretty much start working on getting this motor assembled. And once it's assembled, we can start looking at getting back in the car. So pretty exciting times. It's nice doing it this way. You know, obviously, whilst we have been doing engines just in the shed, we've been doing it as we go, because you got to make sure things stay clean. So you know, you pull down the bottom end, clean everything up, put it all together, wrap it up, move on to the head, something like that. Whereas doing it this way, we've got this nice clean controlled environment, just cleaning everything up. Everything's in here, done, clean. Now we just get to start on the assembly process. And there's no more cleaning, which is just so exciting. It's so nice to know that I can just work in this nice clean engine room and put this thing together and have a great time. So anyway, I'm gonna go down and have a coffee, confit, and some breakfast while we wait for Zach to get here. And yeah, once he gets here, we'll get into it. Oh, actually the other thing I got to do today, Zach picked up the lines and fittings that I needed him to get yesterday from MSA to complete his head drain, his external head drain. So he should be bringing those out, so I could got to weld that fitting into his sump and get that sorted, so that when it goes together, obviously we can sort out his external head drain and it's all complete. So probably going to be a big day, probably going to be a big couple of days, honestly. It's one thing with the, again, this is an awesome way to do it, but the other thing is now there's only assembly and get it in the car to go, so there's not really any reason for us to have to stop. So it'd just be a matter of smashing this through, and hopefully Zach, he's a pretty quick learner, and he's going to have a lot of information today in a lot of short time, so I'm glad he's a pretty quick learner, because it can be a bit of a information overload. So we'll get cracking. Righto, so apart from that going on today, Rex has received back also from the machine shop his cranking cam for this small block, so he's getting to a point where he's just about ready to start putting together this as well. Probably not today, but he is going to look at putting that together at some point in the near future. Today he's thinking about getting another car on the dyno. We're still trying to sort out what's going on with that waviness. We haven't got the 31 back on after doing the center bearing yet, but we want to confirm that it's not like a power draw issue, because we are still a bit worried about the power draw here running the retarder. So we want to just get another car on the dyno that's obviously not a Microtech and not an RV30 and not an R31, just to confirm that it's not something to do with the power draw, and it's definitely something to do with the car. So we thought we'll do that. I've decided I am going to just give these two seats a quick cut, a quick grind. The problem I'm having is I actually cannot find the pilot for the stone for the RB25 guide for the exhaust valve. So there's a 6mm guide, I think. I marked up the valves. The valves are like a 5.96 or something. So definitely a 6mm guide. I cannot find a guide for the tool. That being said, it's been like 4 years probably since I last did an actual RB25 head. The only A25 I've done between now and then was that pink VL, which I didn't have to do anything to the head because the head was done elsewhere. So I don't know where that guide is. I might have lent it out to someone, but either way, I marked up a valve. I'm going to take a guide that's just massive, something we never really use, a huge size. Going to take it next door to our mate Pete, who's the ex-machinist, used to own a foundry, and we're going to get him to turn it down on his lathe to make a pilot the right size, so that I can just give these two seats just a quick grind with a stone. I just would like to be double sure. They're like sitting the valves in there, they look fine, but we are talking distortion down to, you know, thousandths, which will affect the compression and the sealing quite a big deal. So I would definitely like to just give them a quick grind just for peace of mind. So we're going to go do that. I'm just waiting for Zach to get here. I don't want us to go next door and then Zach get here and then no one be here. So waiting for Zach to get here and we'll go next door and get that sorted out so we can give those a quick grind. And yeah, get onto this bottom end. So Rex must have put his new center bearing in yesterday, and it feels so much more solid than the old one, so must be much better. So we're still pretty sure that might be what it is, but you know, mine was doing as well. That being said, mine had the same trash center bearing in it, so we're thinking that is probably what the issue is. We've spoken to Shane, who we bought the dyno off as well, and he reckons that you will get characteristics like that in a power curve if you do have that sort of an issue. Like if you've got a buckled wheel that's real bad, or a bad center bearing, or a coupler, or a really bad uni or something like that, you will find those waviness in the graphs. So that sort of confirms our suspicions a little bit. So we are hoping that getting this on the dyno today, it takes a lot of that waviness out of the curve, but we just want to confirm with another car that it's not actually a power draw issue. Here comes Zach now. I actually found myself last night looking for Breeze FGs. I'm that impressed with the color of this thing. It's so nice. Even the missus absolutely loves the color, so she reckons she wants one. So I guess I've got to buy one now. But anyway, very rare color, very rare color, and very hard to find. So. Righty guys, so we start the assembly process.
The very first engine in the engine room.
Well, the shed was actually first in here.
Technically, the first one being built yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I'm happy with that.
Much to Rex's dismay. So first things first, let's put the oil squirters back in.
Chemically clean.
Chemically clean the block. For everyone that's an expert at home.
These weren't numbered or anything, are they?
I don't believe so, no.
Snap.
Shush you. So, that's our oil squirter installed. So we'll just get something to remove that last main.
Yep. Do you want me to
start
grab a flathead?
Yeah, just a little flathead will be fine. Righto, so now we have the really fun, time-consuming process of doing our bearing clearances. So, for all of you who have been on my channel for a while, a lot of you probably already know our process for this. But we are going to be installing our new bearings into our rods, torquing down the spec so that we get them torqued down so we can take clearancing properly. And same thing, we'll be still installing the bearings into the block and torquing the girdle down to spec so that we can get all of our clearances. So we'll start doing that. It's a lot of fun. and then we'll start taking some measurements. Righto, so while Zach and I were going on with that in the engine room, Rex actually went next door to find Pete. He wasn't home before, but Rex went and got him. And he's turned down this new guide, which is just polishing up on the valve refacer at the moment to make sure it's going to work. So after that, we can do these seats. Not that I'm that worried about it right at the moment. At the moment, we'll focus on getting this bottom end together. But if Rex can go on with these seats, that's awesome. Just grind them and get them sorted. So continue on doing these bearings. Righto, so as you saw, we got the girdle on with all of the main bearings. I've just finished placing all the rod bearings in the actual rods. So now it's time to actually torque all the rods up to spec, which is the fun part. So the rods, these are about 40 foot-pound, I think, something around that. Did them to, yeah, 40 foot-pound. The rods, I think, are 15 foot-pound plus 60 degrees, or 15 newton meters. Anyway, I'll double check everything before I do it. Just can't remember while I'm filming. But so yeah, I'll torque all them to spec, and then we can start actually taking some measurements, get the marks out in the bore gauge, and start doing our measuring up and logging of our clearances. Alright, so our rods are all torqued up, we're all ready to go, so now it's time to actually finally do some bearing clearances. So we'll get our micrometer. So this here is a micrometer. This measures distances down to very, very small increments. Much smaller than you can buy bearing shells in, so finally accurate. This is just a standard that comes in the kit. This is just how you check that it's calibrated. Now we've got our Michael zeroed out, we know it works. So the way these work is this end is like a little clicker. It actually puts a specific amount of torque on the measurement, which is specified by whoever makes the mic. There is some sort of standard. The correct amount of torque to get the correct amount of reading for the increments that the mic reads. Right. So what we're looking at is obviously your crank. You've got 7 main journals and 6 rods. So what we're looking to do is pretty much measure the journal. All we want to do is take a few measurements at a few different angles. What this does is just make sure that it's not out of round. Yep. So obviously sometimes because of the way the crank spins and the way it loads and unloads a rod, sometimes you can get them that they wear out around. Yep. So they wear the top and the bottom and maybe not the sides, or maybe they just wear the thrust and not anywhere else. So it's important to do a few measurements around that. So we'll do main number 1. So you use that to lock it off. Yep. All right. 2 point. So we've got 1.5 plus 13.5 there. So you got 2.16, and it's just over 5. So we've got 2.1636. So 2.1636 inches. Now that you've locked that off at that, we're going to do just a few more measurements around the crank, just to ensure that it's the journal, just to ensure that it's the same size all the way around. So pick sort of 3 spots. This feels fine. There's just enough drag on that mic that it's not going to go any further. It's about as much torque as I put on it when I took the first measurement, but it's not getting stuck anywhere that I can't get it over the journal. So that's pretty much going to tell us that we are round enough for what we're doing. All right, so now using that mic, which we've locked off, we zero out our bore gauge, which I've gone ahead and done. So that is zeroed out on our mic. We'll use this to come over here, and I won't be able to do it with one hand. Oh yeah, that can hold. It's got to stay upside down. So we come over here to bearing number 1, main number 1, and then we use our bore gauge to essentially just measure our clearance. So this now is zeroed out on the size of the journal. And it's a bit tricky with RB bearings because they do have this ridge in them. Not ridge, it's like an internal divot. So it can be a bit tricky. So, not like that. So yeah, our measurement up and down is just over 1.5. I'd call that, yeah, literally about 1.6 thou, which is quite good. I'm pretty happy with that. It's a little bit on the tight side, but I'm pretty happy with tight on an RB just because generally they do have quite low oil pressure from stock, especially with the stock pump and stock gears. So No, that's good. So what I like to do is I like to do an up and down, which is that one just there, which is straight up and down. And I like to do a 40 or 5 degree each way, just to ensure that the bearing is not out around also, because we have had problems with some bearings actually being quite out around too. So I like to do 3 measurements with the bore gauge. Again, this bore gauge only reads in half thou increments, but as we always maintain is the fact that you can only buy bearings in thou increments. So the best thing you can do is if you use 2 different bearing shells from 2 different kits, like a standard size and a 1 thou oversized. That's how you can get your half thou increments, but that's pretty much the smallest you can go with a bearing anyway. So half thou increments on the bore gauge is still fine. So call that 1.6 thou clearance.
Very cool.
With the up and down, which is looking good for number 1. So we don't count our chickens, but
That's it. That's it. Yeah. So now with that one there, you have to do what? So you've already done there to there.
yeah,
So
I
you'll
did them
do-
all while you're outside. Yeah,
Perfect,
so
yeah.
then I just pick a few more places. I'll show you with the next one.
Very cool. Sounds good.
Righto guys, so we've done all Zach's mains. They've all clearanced up pretty well. They're round enough, nothing I'm worried about, and they're all sort of within that, like around that 2 thou clearance range, which is awesome. So they're all really good. We did run into an issue, however, when we started doing rods, that actually, one thing, this is something I've actually learnt today. I was always under the impression that the 30s and the 25, the rod journals were the same size, but they're actually not. The 25 rod journals are slightly smaller than the 30s, about 80 thou. It is just enough that we cannot actually measure the inside of the rods with the bore gauge that we've got that we've been using. So we need to order another bore gauge. So we can't actually do the rods today. So we're going to get onto ordering that because the bore gauge only goes down to 2 inches, but the 30 rod journals are around usually 1.996, you know, in that region. And even though they're just under 2, we can get them with our 2-inch bore gauge. But these RB rod journals are just that, the 25 rod journals are just a little bit smaller, that we just cannot get the bore gauge inside to sort them out because the bore gauge actually only goes down to 2 inches. So we'll have to order that. That'll be here probably next week, so we'll sort that out next week. So that's as far as we can get as far as the bottom end goes today. But I've still got to modify Zach's sump, and we've still got to sort out Zach's head. So while we were doing some other stuff, I think I explained before, Rex went next door and got that new pilot made for the head. So I can grind them seats, and we can give those 2 valves another lap, and that way we can give the head its final clean down, and then the head's pretty much done and ready for start assembly. But I would like to get the bottom end sort of assembled before we start on the head, just to get a bit more bench space here to be assembling the head in. But at least we can do that and get it washed down and sorted out. And I'll weld Zach's new fitting in his sump. So he's got this is the rest of the lines, this is the welding fitting that I've got. So this is to complete his external head drain from Ross, just the rest of the stuff you need. So it's all -8 or 1/2 inch. So yeah, I need to weld that in his sump so that we can finish that up. And yeah, we can sort of continue on with those few things. And yeah, we'll sort out another bore gauge. I don't know, we'll see. I might actually move some stuff around and give us some room to do this head. I'll see how we go. But yeah, we'll move on to doing the rest of this head. Alright, so
Very
Rex
cool.
got that new
Sorry,
pilot
new
made up out of that big one that we'll never use. So you got Pete, our mate next door, to turn that down on his lathe so it's the right size for these pilots. So keep that in the kit, hopefully not lose this one. So now we can, actually I just dressed this stone up, so that's dressed to 45, which I double checked the valves on the valve refacer, and they are actually dressed at 45. So I didn't want to grind the valves because I don't particularly need to. So whatever I don't have to grind, get away with, I will not. Yeah, I don't think that's a problem at all. I reckon those seats are fine. Well, I mean, you get to paint this when we're done, so...
Oh, really?
Yep.
You're joking.
No. All right, so it's welded. It was weird. It seemed like as I come around, some of the heat, it seemed to have a few, like it was creating some spider cracks in the sump. Not something I've ever really experienced in a steel sump before. I tried feeling them with the pick. You couldn't actually feel them with the pick, but they definitely looked like they were cracked. So I thought, while I got the welder out, it's easy for me to just buzz them over now. It's ugly, but it's better than dealing with oil leaks. So guts all welded on, so Zach can take that with him if he wants. And
Oh, can I paint it?
yep, you can paint it.
Tell you what, I'm keen. That's awesome.
I'm so keen.
All right, so that's pretty much all we're going to get done on the 33 today.
Yeah.
But no, it's, you know, enough.
Think what do we do? So pretty much
Main
clearance,
clearances.
a lot of clearancing.
Yep.
Cleaned out the engine bay, welded this on,
Got the head sorted.
got the head
Got
sorted.
that welded.
Today was a good day.
It's a good enough day. I mean, it would have been nice to start getting that bottom end together, but anyway, we'll just have to get that ball gauge. But we'll have that next week. So yeah, we'll try for Monday or maybe Tuesday. We'll see how we go with this ball gauge.
Sounds good.
All right. And Rex is going to chuck the skyline back on the dyno. See if that center bearing made any difference. So yeah, bit bummed I didn't get that weld on Zach's sump a bit nicer, but I'm still having a few troubles with this arm actually holding the torch. It's pretty good to rotate, it's just I found on parts where I had to actually twist my wrist up with the torch in it. I had a lot of trouble and I kept dipping the tungsten. But anyway, it's welded and it won't leak, and that's the main thing, and it's on the sump, so no one's going to really look at it. So. But anyway, Rex is just changing where the timing's locked to on this thing. So pretty sure, like, because we haven't set the pump values right or something, when you rev it, it dips down so far that it seems to be going, like the ECU's going back into crank mode, like it's cranking. I was trying to start, and it's pulling heaps of timing out. So we're trying to lock the timing at 10 degrees minimum, so that it might not go that far to actually pull that much timing out. So fingers crossed that works out. But anyway, we'll get it on the rollers now and have a play with it. Righto guys, so I know I said this morning that we wanted to actually get another car on the dyno and run it up just to double check that waviness in the power curve. But we've decided to start with the 31 just because it's going to be a lot louder than the other car we put on the dyno. And it's starting to get pretty late on a Friday afternoon, so we still want to keep the neighbours on side. We're still not going to be tuning like on weekends and stuff, so we sort of want to get this thing on the dyno, run it up, see what it's going to be like, clean it up a little bit, and then Rex will take this off. And we're going to get one of our old Statesmans that's still got an LS1 in it. We'll go chuck a battery in that, we'll bring it up and chuck it on so that we can have a play with H3 tuners, because although Rex has played with it heaps with the Cruiser and stuff when he tuned that, I haven't played with H3 tuners at all. So it'd be pretty cool to see it. Hopefully I'm still here when he pulls it up. It's getting pretty late, I'm going to have to head off fairly soon, but we thought we'll do the Statesman after, because it's going to be a lot quieter than this thing on the dyno. So get this thing done, out of the way, get it off, and we'll put the quiet car on, which will annoy the neighbours a lot less, I'm sure. So we are still getting that waviness, which obviously means it was not a center bearing, so it could be these valve springs are a bit sad. It is on stock valve springs pushing like 20 PSI, so it could just be really sad valve springs. But anyway, we're not going to find out much more about it. Obviously, if we put on this Statesman and it doesn't do the waviness like that, which it shouldn't do, then we know that it's got to be something wrong with the setup of this car. As we were saying, the only cars we've had it on it in this shed is mine and Rex's, and they are the same ECU, same engine with the same valve springs, so it's pretty hard to determine a actual outcome or cause and narrow it down from that. But if we chuck on another car that's totally different ECU, different engine, and it doesn't do that waviness, then we know it's something to do with our setups. I'd say probably valve springs and just shit ECUs. But you know, if we put on the Statesman and it does do the waviness, then we know to start looking at potentially a power draw issue, which we have always been worried about with this place because we only have a 5 kVA power draw. So yeah, where we are here, we only have a 5 kVA power draw from the property pole. So we don't have a lot of power draw, which we were really worried about with this dyno. So that's one thing we just want to look into and make sure that it's not a power draw issue. But yeah, like I said, getting another car on it that's different ECU, different car, different motor, not boosted, we should be able to see sort of whether it's going to be a power draw issue or not. So Rex is just pumping some bit more timing into it now that he's sort of a bit happy with his fuel curve. The fuel curve's flattened out a little bit. Still not ideal though. It's still got that waviness, but like we keep saying, with a Microtech, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much fine tuning on the Microtech that can happen. They're just honestly not that great. So it's making good power though. 370 is pretty staunch for a pretty much stock bottom end, stock head RB30, just with you know, valves, just with the head studs and a head gasket, so that's pretty staunch. Yeah, that's pretty much where we're going to get to with this thing. I think, yeah, until we get the Statesman on here and make sure that it's not an issue with the power draw that we're chasing, and then we'll know that it's probably just the setup, and then we'll probably be looking at either doing a valve spring upgrade or a better ECU. It's definitely on the cards also, but you know, that's not what we're going to do anyway. That's just what we'll sort of recommend to the bloke who's buying the car, one of our mates. But you know, we always knew that this ECU was going to be sort of one of the lower points of the car, being that it is just really dinosaur Microtech LT8. So it is what it is, and we can only do what we can do. So even though that center bearing wasn't the waviness issue, it's so much better with a new center bearing in it. It's not doing the knocking stuff that mine was doing, that this was doing the other day. That's all gone, and I could feel it on the hoist. It felt so much more solid, so definitely a much better center bearing, that one. But didn't sort out our issue. Again, we just got to keep trying to chase what this issue is. I'm pretty sure it will just be an issue with the car setups. I'm just dubious. I reckon it's a mix between not being able to tune well enough on the Microtech as far as your fine tuning of your AFRs, plus I reckon that the valve springs are probably not that great. It is just stock 30 valve springs, and who knows how old they are, and they are sort of holding up to a fair bit of boost at the moment, so we'll just see how it goes. I mean, it's healthy power, it's a safe tune, there's nothing wrong with it, it's just annoying that we have that waviness is all it is. Righto, so spent a bit more time on that fuel map, trimming it up nice, and just trimmed a bit more timing around that peak torque area, and this is what we ended up with. So you can see at that 381 run, fueling is still quite safe. You're still well under 12 AFR, so still around that sort of 11.5 to 11.8 AFR, which is pretty mint. That's still safe as houses. And with that little bit of fuel trimmed out at peak, timing trimmed out at peak, it's still safe. And 380 wheel. So we made 380. That's an extra pretty much 15, 20 horsepower on last time. Yeah. So that's pretty good improvement. So Rex reckons he can still feel something moving around under the car. So there may still be something under there that is causing this. But again, like we're saying, like I keep saying, is once we get another car on this thing and run it up, it'll tell the story straight up. So. Pretty happy with that 380 wheel. That's pretty good. 380 wheel all day long. So we'll print that off for the new owner and be happy days. Big dick player over here. Not bad, not bad. So what did we end up going? Dyno just over 500 newton meters torque. Oh, foot-pound, sorry, torque. As predicted by the dyno. But yeah, nice, nice. So it seems our little timing trick fixed our issue as well with it dying after coming back from revs like that. So it doesn't seem to be dropping into that cranking status and pulling heaps of timing now, so. So it seems to be just a lot more crisp now, especially with how much fuel was trimmed out of it. We actually did trim quite a bit of fuel out, so it was still running fat as, so with that fuel trimmed out of it and that timing issue fixed, it just sounds a lot more crisp. And yeah, it's a lot happier, so glad we spent a bit of extra time on that. getting that just really nice, right?
Young Matty should be very impressed.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be happy. I'm sure he's sitting at home watching, laughing, huh? Get the old Stato out to have a play. Is she gonna play the game? Hey!
There is my new drift motor. And that's why. It's been sitting there for how long now?
Yeah, I was just about to tell the camera. This is gonna be on some really old fuel. We're not by any means
Pretty gross.
looking to get like power out of it. It's just pretty much an exercise to have a bit of a play around with HP tuners because I haven't yet, and also just double check everything with the dyno. Starts right up. So this is the motor Rex is going to be putting in his E46 compact. So guys, what do you reckon she's got in her? Me and Dad were thinking like 240. Rex reckons 220. Honestly, I think Rex is probably a bit closer considering it's going to be terrible fuel. It's old. We put a little bit of fresh fuel in it, but not much. I should probably just check the oil.
Yeah, actually, that's probably.
Yeah, it's been sitting for a while. So we'll check the oil and we'll see what it runs up.
Schmicko.
How's the haze? That haze is just burning oil that's dripped down from just sitting for so long. Oh yeah. So we probably didn't need to chuck the sniffer in there, but we figured just in case it leans out or something, it can't be too safe. Probably not necessary. But anyway, we'll try it anyway.
You gotta put your seatbelt on, it keeps beeping at you. Because it thinks you're driving with no seatbelt on.
I was about to laugh at you.
Buckle up, buckaroos.
Right, she's a healthy drift motor.
It'll be a good drift motor. Yeah. It's confirmed that's smooth as, so whatever's going on with the Skylines is car related, not dyno.
So that's awesome. It's awesome to know that's not an issue with the dyno or any power draw or anything like that. So 273. Bog stock. All it's got is a bolt-on exhaust. It's got no tune, nothing.
Still going up too. I'll hold it a little bit longer.
Yeah, I'll fix up the scale.
Stock 340,000 K old LS1 just went 20 wheel more than your Skyline.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you probably didn't hear that, but what Rex was just saying is that this is a bog stock Statesman, just a bolt-on exhaust, no tune, nothing. It's done 340,000 Ks and it's got 20 more horsepower than my Skyline did with an auto. That's stupid. Just to confirm with you all as well, we are in shoot 8 mode. There's no tricks going on. We haven't changed any parameters to make this power. It's straight up shoot 8. So 276.6 at the wheels. That is absolutely stupid.
That's unreal. You can make more out of it too, like.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's not true. That's untouched.
Yeah, but that wouldn't go your far.
Yeah.
Like rev range, they're dropping down to 11.5s. Like, in an NA motor like this, you'd want that flat across 12.5 to 12.8s. 12.8s we want. So you could make 300 wheel out of it with a mapless tune and actually tune it.
Actually playing with some timing. Because what do they run stock timing? Hey? What do they run stock for timing?
Fuck, I'd have to have a look like that. Only mid-20s.
Yeah. That's what I mean. If you jam some timing in it, like jam 27s in it and cleaned it out a bit, you probably get to your 285.
I reckon mapless that'd go 290, nearly 300. Just if you sort out the AFRs. And yet,
That's pretty impressive. If you could get 290, that's pretty cool.
it's in the skyline.
Yeah.
And that cam we want to put in,
Yeah.
close to 400, I'm sure.
Yeah, I reckon we'll go 400. Yeah.
It'll make 400, or so help me God.
It'll make 400 or it'll fly apart trying.
So much timing into it.
Well, I mean, look how many spare Gen 3 pistons and rods we got.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if one couple go flying.
As long as the block's okay. That's, all jokes aside, that is pretty cool. Pretty impressive. I'm happy with that. That's pretty, turns out me and Dad were closer than Rex.
Yeah, we're all wrong.
We were all very, very wrong. And that's on this old fuel too. Like, this thing has been sitting for...
That's a funny thing. It's sat there for, how long about this? 9 months that's been sitting there. Hasn't been started. We started it up, got it warm, put some old mower fuel in it. It's done 340,000 Ks now, this motor. As far as we know.
Catback, eh?
Yeah, just a Bolton catback I stole off the Silver Statesman that I put the motor in for the cruiser.
Yeah.
And it just went 276 on its third run.
That's insane. What a laugh. Yep. No, absolute laugh. That's awesome.
How good is it having
A dyno.
where you can just muck around and do
It is so much fun. Anyway, that's pretty awesome. Anyway, we have annoyed the neighbours enough this afternoon, I think. So yeah, Rex is going to charge his battery. That was just a cool exercise to see what this made, but we will actually, we've got a ECU that we're actually got the HV Tuner's license for sitting up there. So one day next week, we'll probably actually chuck that in it. Again, just for the exercise of me having to play with HV tuners because I haven't yet. So it'd be cool to have a muck around with that. So it'd be interesting to see what we can actually get out of this thing. We'll put a mathless tune in it. Do a mathless tune on that ECU we're licensed to and see what we can get out of it. Anyway guys, that's going to be it for today. Probably been a pretty long video, but you know, we didn't get a lot of Zach's motor done. It's a pain in the ass that we don't have a tool to measure that. So yeah, it's weird. I always was under the assumption that the 25 rod journals were the same size as the 30, but obviously not. So we're going to work on getting another tool, either an inside mic or another ball gauge that actually measures down below 2 inches. But yeah, awesome day. So yeah, we'll keep on ticking along with Zach's. It's a bit of a pain that we didn't get more of that together, but we still had a good day. Good to get all the mains done as far as clearancing goes and have that head sorted out, ready for assembly. So that's going to be next week. We'll keep on going with that. But yeah. Thanks for watching. As always, hit likes or smash subscribe. Remember to say it the correct way, the Lep Labs way. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one, guys. Catch you later.